isrealites know, man. And old Jake is hobbling, you know, he's walking.
Check that out.
You know, Josh Hamilton, he about to play. Then he sees the old Jake, he goes. Then the old Jake's face just morphed into what looks like Yahweh Shai. And they show you that in the movie. Then he goes, just one more song, just one. And then
but now, if you want to go in the movies, right? Hollywood, Israel, and Hollywood, or whatever. Hollywood, Israel. This one of the Star Trek movies. Remember they had the series with this guy, William Shatner. Then they started making movies. Star Trek, the movie, The Wrath of Khan. Then they had one, I forget the name of it, but they were supposed to see the Most High. So they went to this planet, right? And they actually saw it, but it really wasn't the Most High. It was some demon that came as the Most High. But you know what the Most High looked like? Just like the scriptures. He had white, but it wasn't fully woolly, but it was like white hair and a white beard, and it had the facial features of the Most High, but they kind of made him Edomite looking. So wait a minute, how did they know the Most High had white hair? Why didn't he have black hair? Because they read the scriptures. So they read through the scriptures. Because I ran into this one guy named Wiener. He's a producer. He did that movie Home Alone 2. He was the producer of the whole movie. So we were speaking down there on Wall Street, and his whole crew came out. So he just started talking to me. And then he was telling me, this was like years when I was younger, he said, you should get in the movies. He said, you got that look, you got that look. He said, he said, go to Backstage, get Backstage magazine, and if you show your face, there's something about you, man. You can be a famous actor. You know, I don't know if he was bullshitting me or not. But his guys was walking around us, talking to us, and they were throwing stuff in the scriptures, throwing stuff up at us, excuse me, from the scriptures, right? Which proved that they knew the scriptures. So one of the guys said, you know what the best script, if you can't think of a good movie, you know what we go to? We always go to the Bible. And they said if you're going to be a director or a producer, it's imperative that you got to read the Bible. Because if you don't have a script, you can always get one from the scriptures. So now if they read the scriptures backwards and forwards, you know they had to come across the image of the Most High. So when they made that movie, Star Trek, that particular movie, they made the man that's supposed to be the Most High on this planet look and act like the Most High, but they started off with a black image, but they made it